The Celestial Spoon's galley, usually a hive of frantic activity and sizzling anticipation, had taken on a different kind of energy this evening. The usual clamor of chopping, sizzling, and frantic orders was replaced by hushed whispers and furtive glances. Mira and I, propelled by a mixture of desperation and determination, found ourselves sneaking into the lower storage decks, a labyrinthine maze of crates, cold storage units, and forgotten corners. The faint hum of the ship's engines was a constant backdrop, but here the silence was thick, broken only by the occasional creak of metal and the distant murmur of the contest in full swing above. Mira's fingers danced over the datapad screen, her eyes scanning lines of encrypted text that looked like culinary gibberish to anyone but her. "These aren't just recipes," she whispered, "they're plans, covert instructions, and sabotage logs. Look here." She tapped a sequence of messages detailing precise tampering with equipment, strategic ingredient swaps, and timed disruptions, all meticulously orchestrated under Chef Vrax's command. I could hardly believe what I was seeing. The ruthless chef who'd sneered at me all contest was playing dirty, sabotaging other competitors while maintaining a facade of unblemished perfection. My stomach churned, part dread, part vindication. The contest's integrity was at stake, and suddenly, the stakes felt much higher than a mere culinary trophy. We carefully compiled the evidence, mindful of every noise, every shadow. The malfunctioning Jix buzzed uncertainly nearby, its random beeps providing an oddly comforting soundtrack to our covert operation. Once armed with proof, we made our way to the judge's quarters. The tension was palpable as Judge Zila's piercing eyes scanned the data, her expression unreadable. Moments later, the calm was shattered by the arrival of Chef Vrax, their metallic apron gleaming ominously under the harsh lights, eyes narrowing as the accusations were laid bare. "You dare accuse me of such treachery?" Vrax's voice was low, venomous, but the evidence was irrefutable. The kitchen around us fell silent, the usual hum of culinary war replaced by stunned disbelief. In this charged atmosphere, Grut the Grumbler stepped forward, his scaly face contorted in a rare expression of grudging respect. "Guess you're not the only one who knows how to stir the pot," he muttered, casting a sideways glance at me. It was a small but significant gesture. The shifting allegiances in this chaotic contest were becoming clear. Judge Zila's voice then cut through the tension like a sharp knife. "Effective immediately, the contest will be paused pending a full investigation. We must remember that culinary excellence is not only about taste but integrity, creativity, and honor." Her dramatic proclamation left no room for argument. As the room buzzed with whispered speculations and anxious faces, I felt a strange mix of vindication and uncertainty. The exposure of Chef Vrax's sabotage had rocked the contest's foundation, but what would come next? Would the spirit of competition survive, or had the chaos consumed us all? I glanced at Mira, her determined eyes shining with fierce hope, and then at Grut, whose scowl had softened just enough to hint at unexpected alliances. The future was unpredictable, but for the first time, I felt ready to face it head-on. The Celestial Spoon's grandest culinary contest had just been turned upside down, and somewhere deep in the turmoil, I sensed the true flavor of the adventure was only just beginning. The hum of the Celestial Spoon's engines was a steady, reassuring pulse beneath the frantic energy that crackled in the air of the galley. It was the kind of hum that had lulled me to sleep on far less auspicious occasions, but tonight, it merely underscored the storm of nerves twisting my stomach into an unrecognizable shape. The final round was nearly upon us, and the weight of it pressed down like a colossal spatula on my chest. Mira was already there, a whirlwind of efficiency and calm amid the impending chaos. Her vibrant blue hair caught the sparse light, and she moved with a practiced grace that belied the tension pervading the kitchen. Together we sorted through our selection of ingredients, some exotic alien spices that Mira had smuggled from her secret stash, a handful of vegetables that looked like they had been designed by a committee of mad scientists, and a few more familiar staples that somehow felt oddly out of place in this floating crucible of culinary madness. "Alex," Mira said softly, not looking up from her meticulous arrangement of jars, "you've got this. Remember what we've learned, it's not about perfection. It's about telling a story with what you have. Just keep your head clear." I nodded, trying to absorb her confidence like it was one of those rare spices that could transform a bland meal into a masterpiece. It was a comforting thought, if only to drown out the ever-present shadow looming at the edge of the kitchen. Chef Raxthorn was prowling nearby, the very embodiment of intimidation. His sharp metallic apron gleamed under the overhead lights, and his eyes, those unforgiving, piercing eyes, seemed to cut straight through flesh and bone to the very soul of any poor cook unfortunate enough to meet his gaze. I caught his eyes once. They looked like they could slice a souffle in half without so much as a tremor in his expression. I quickly looked away, an involuntary shiver running down my spine. But it wasn't just Vrax's presence that made the atmosphere electric with tension. The other competitors were here too, each a swirling storm of nerves, ambition, and carefully concealed desperation. The galley had transformed into an arena, the stakes higher than I'd ever dared to dream. Just then, Grut the Grumbler lumbered into the kitchen, his hulking form casting a shadow over the gleaming countertops. Despite his usual scowl, he offered me a nod, a rare gesture of acknowledgement from the scaly giant. "Don't muck it up, Quibble," he grunted, but there was an unmistakable undertone of camaraderie beneath the gruffness. I blinked, startled by the unexpected support. "Thanks, Grut," I managed, feeling a flicker of warmth amid the cold pressure. Before I could dwell on it, a familiar sputtering noise emerged from the corner. Jix, the robotic kitchen assistant, was malfunctioning spectacularly, sparks flying from its joints as it fumbled with a spice grinder. It emitted a series of beeps and whirs that sounded suspiciously like a distressed cat. "Oh no, Jix, not now," I muttered, rushing over to steady the machine. The robot's blinking lights flickered erratically, and for a moment, I feared the worst. Mira chuckled softly. "At least it's consistent," she said, eyes twinkling with humor. I smiled, the tension momentarily broken. "Yeah, nothing like a little chaos to keep things interesting," I replied, feeling the familiar surge of determination rising within me. As we prepared our station, the weight of everything, the rivalry, the sabotage, the friendships forged in fire pressed down on me. But it no longer felt like a suffocating burden. Instead, it was a challenge, a call to arms for my chaotic, clumsy heart. I glanced once more at the looming figure of Chef Vrax, the ultimate embodiment of everything I was up against. But this time, instead of shrinking away, I squared my shoulders, ready to face whatever the final round would throw at me. With Mira and Grut at my side, and even the unpredictable Jix chiming in with its mechanical quirks, I was ready to cook like my life depended on it, because in a way, did. The galley grew quiet as the final round was announced over the intercom, the words echoing through the ship like a starting gun at the beginning of a race. I took a deep breath, the scent of alien spices and burnt edges filling my lungs, and stepped forward. Tonight, this hapless cook was going to make history, or at least a spectacular disaster worth remembering. And that was just fine by me. The countdown began. The final preparations were complete. The chaos was about to unfold. The final round of the galaxy's grandest cooking contest aboard the Celestial Spoon had arrived with the subtlety of a supernova. I stood at my station, heart hammering against my ribs like a panicked drum circle, staring down the gleaming array of alien ingredients laid out before me. The air was thick with anticipation, a mix of exotic aromas and the faint, ever-present hum of the ship's engines. Around me, the other chefs moved with practiced precision, their hands a blur as they prepared for the ultimate test. And then, as if the universe itself wanted to remind me of my hapless nature, Jix decided to throw a cosmic wrench into the gears. It started with a flicker of electrical sparks from Jix's arm, followed by a sudden, uncontrollable flail that sent a container of shimmering blue spice flying through the air. Time seemed to slow as the container exploded mid-flight, releasing a cloud of pungent dust that settled over the kitchen like an unexpected fog. The spice was volatile, known for igniting on contact with air, and sure enough, a small fire erupted on the stove beside me. Alarms blared, lights flashed red, and the kitchen descended into a cacophony of chaos. I dropped my utensils, eyes wide as I lunged to grab the fire extinguisher, knocking over a bowl of squirming, translucent alien worms in the process. Mira's voice sliced through the din, sharp but steady. "Alex, the fire suppressant spray now!" I fumbled for the canister on my utility belt, hands trembling as I unleashed a shimmering mist that smothered the flames. Jix, meanwhile, sparked and whirred erratically, its voice glitching in frantic beeps and static. "Malfunction, malfunction, recipe error." It stuttered, then abruptly ceased movement, collapsed like a metallic rag doll against the counter. The kitchen's attention snapped to the epicenter of the mayhem, and I felt the weight of 100 eyes, competitors, judges, and crew alike pressing down on me. Chef Rax Thorne appeared at the edge of the chaos, his sharp metallic apron gleaming under the harsh lights, eyes cold and calculating. A smirk curled at the edge of his lips, a silent mockery of my predicament. Clumsy as ever, Quibble, his voice was smooth but edged with venom. "Perhaps this contest is beyond your reach." I swallowed hard, cheeks burning, but refused to let his words break me. This was my moment to prove that chaos could be a catalyst rather than a curse. "Maybe," I muttered under my breath, "but I'm not done yet." Mira was already rallying, her blue hair a beacon of calm amid the storm. She began reorganizing the scattered ingredients, her fingers deftly working through the mess. "We can still salvage this," she assured me, eyes bright with determination. Inspired, I grabbed a handful of the remaining alien components, the iridescent petals of a lumina flower, a pinch of rare crystalline salt, and a handful of the now slightly singed worms, and began improvising. The pressure was immense. The seconds ticked away with merciless speed. Sweat beaded on my forehead, but I worked with a frantic energy, mixing, folding, and plating in a blur. The kitchen buzzed with tension as the other contestants watched, some in disbelief, others with grudging respect. Judge Zala, the enigmatic head judge, finally moved forward, her sharp gaze sweeping the chaos with an unreadable expression. Silence fell like a heavy curtain as she approached my station. I held my breath as she sampled the improvised dish, her eyes narrowing thoughtfully. Then, a flicker of something intrigue, amusement, crossed her face. "Unconventional," she declared, voice ringing clear across the kitchen. "But there is a spark of brilliance in this madness." Relief washed over me, mingled with a renewed surge of hope. The chaos hadn't defeated me, it had forged a new path. As the round continued, the kitchen settled into a frenetic rhythm, each moment a delicate dance between disaster and delight. Jix's malfunction had appended everything, but it had also unleashed a storm of creativity that none of us could have predicted. And as I caught Mira's encouraging smile, and even a rare nod from the gruff Grut the Grumbler across the room, I realized that sometimes the wildest chaos could birth the most unexpected triumphs. The final round was far from over, and the universe was watching. But for the first time, I wasn't just surviving, I was cooking. And that, in a galaxy full of chaos and rivalry, was nothing short of a miracle. The final round of the intergalactic cooking contest aboard the Celestial Spoon began in a frenzy that would have made any sane chef reconsider their life choices. Flames flickered dangerously close to the ceiling, alarms blared in a cacophony that Jix, our malfunctioning robotic assistant, tried desperately to regulate with its erratic beeping and occasional sparks. I, Alex Quibble, stood in the eye of this storm, my apron more stained than ever, and my nerves singing a frantic tune that no amount of deep breaths could silence.
"All right, Jix, focus,"
I muttered, dodging a flying spatula that narrowly missed my head. The metallic assistant whirred anxiously, its blinking lights flickering as it tried to keep pace with the chaos. Mira, ever the calm in my culinary tempest, darted back and forth, her utility belt jingling with spices and tools, her blue hair a bright beacon amid the smoke. "Alex, you've got this," she said with a grin that made me want to believe it was true. "Just improvise. That's your secret weapon." Improvisation was exactly what I was about to do, whether I liked it or not. With the ingredients scattered like cosmic confetti around me, some unidentifiable alien vegetables, a few rare spices Mira had fought tooth and nail to secure, and a suspiciously squirming gelatinous substance that I hoped was edible, I began to assemble what could only be described as a culinary Hail Mary. The clock was merciless, ticking down the seconds with unforgiving precision. Sweat dripped down my brow as I chopped, stirred, and combined in a frantic dance that left little room for error. My thoughts raced faster than my hands could move, but in that madness, something remarkable happened. Patterns emerged in the chaos. Flavors melded in ways I hadn't planned but instinctively trusted. It was as if the universe itself conspired to turn my disaster into art. "Jix, now! Heat it up!" I commanded, hoping the glitch-prone robot would comply. There was a brief, worrying hesitation before the stovetop flared to life, sending a plume of aromatic steam into the air that smelled, dare I say it, delicious. Suddenly, the kitchen doors swung open, and all movement halted. Judge Zyla entered, her presence cutting through the noise like a laser scalpel. Her piercing eyes scanned the room, landing finally on me and the eccentric plate in my trembling hands. The judges gathered, their expressions a mix of curiosity and suspicion. "Present your dish," Judge Zyla demanded, her voice a sharp contrast to the lingering chaos. Swallowing my nerves, I stepped forward, setting the steaming plate on the judging table. The dish was a riot of color and texture, an unorthodox fusion that defied all the rules I'd ever heard about. Delicate strands of shimmering alien root twined through a savory custard that glowed faintly under the ship's neon lights, topped with a sprinkle of Mira's rare spice that lent it an otherworldly aroma. The judges leaned in, their faces unreadable as they tasted. Time seemed to slow. I held my breath, heart pounding as their expressions flickered from confusion to surprise, then to intrigue. Even Chef Vraxthorn, lurking in the shadows with his sharp metallic apron and cold eyes, betrayed the slightest twitch of respect. Murmurs rippled through the chamber as the judges whispered amongst themselves. Judge Zyla's gaze returned to me, a rare smile touching her lips, one that spoke of approval and perhaps a hint of admiration. Mira broke the silence with a relieved chuckle, clapping me on the back. "You did it, Alex. You actually did it." Jix beeped enthusiastically, its lights flashing in a victorious pattern despite earlier malfunctions. The kitchen, still humming with residual energy, felt transformed, not just a battleground, but a place where the unpredictable spark of creativity could flourish. As the judges prepared to announce their decision, I realized that winning wasn't the only prize here. I had proven to myself that chaos could birth brilliance, that desperation could fuel invention, and that sometimes the best dishes were made not from rules but from the heart. And with that thought, I braced myself for whatever came next, ready to face the future with frantic hope and exasperated delight. But just as Judge Zyla opened her mouth to speak, the lights flickered ominously. Jix emitted a loud, unexpected screech, and the room plunged into darkness. "Oh no," I whispered. "Not now." The crowd gasped. The final twist of the contest was just beginning. The aftermath of the contest unfolded like a slow-moving nebula, nebulous and tinged with colors I hadn't quite imagined when I first stumbled aboard the Celestial Spoon. Standing in the grand judging hall, where every surface gleamed like a polished comet, and the air thrummed with the collective breath of the galaxy's most eccentric chefs, I felt a peculiar mix of exhaustion and elation. Judge Zyla's voice cut through the din, sharp and dramatic as ever, announcing the final verdicts with a flair that could have turned even the dreariest space ration into a feast. I gripped my apron stubbornly, stained with the evidence of my chaotic journey, as the judges deliberated. The tension was palpable, a thick fog of expectation and dread that settled over the room like a slow, creeping space storm. Around me, competitors shifted nervously, their eyes flickering between the judges and each other, some masked with confident bluster, others barely concealing their anxiety. Then, in a moment that felt like the collision of two stars, Judge Zyla paused, her gaze piercing through me and straight to the heart of the contest's swirling chaos. "Alex Quibble," she began, voice low and deliberate, "your dish was an unorthodox symphony of flavors, a tempestuous dance that defied convention. You did not win the top prize, but you have won something perhaps more enduring, the respect of those who witnessed your resilience and creativity under pressure." A murmur rippled through the hall. I blinked, caught somewhere between disbelief and relief. Mira, standing beside me with her usual bright smile and a knowing twinkle in her eye, squeezed my arm. "Told you, you'd surprise them," she whispered. But the surprises were far from over. As the judges began to disperse, revealing the final placings and awarding the prizes, a hushed conversation caught my attention. Chef Rax Thorne, the towering figure of ruthlessness who had shadowed my every step, was being confronted by an unexpected visitor, a former associate from a darker chapter in Vrax's past. The tension between them crackled like static electricity, the sharp metallic gleam of Vrax's apron reflecting the flickering lights. Word spread quickly, the scandal that had once nearly destroyed Vrax's reputation, the accusations of sabotage. The whispered betrayals was now laid bare for all to see. But instead of the anticipated fury or denial, Vrax's usually impenetrable facade faltered. For the first time, a trace of vulnerability slipped into their piercing gaze. In a rare moment of candor, Vrax admitted to past mistakes, revealing the immense pressure and fear that had driven their ruthless pursuit of perfection. This revelation rippled through the contest like an unexpected supernova, reshaping alliances and grudges alike. I found myself face to face with Vrax, the tension between us thick but tempered by something new, understanding. "You're not just a monster," I said, surprising even myself. "You're a chef who's been scared to fail." Vrax's response was a grudging nod, a silent truce born of mutual respect forged in the fires of competition and chaos. In quieter moments, Mira and I retreated to the galley's back corridors, the warm scent of alien spices wrapping around us like a comforting cloak. We talked late into the artificial night, sharing stories of missteps and triumphs, laughter mingling with the soft hum of the ship's engines. It was here, amid the clatter of utensils and the flickering glow of refrigeration units, that I truly felt the contest's impact, not as a contest of winners and losers, but as a crucible that had shaped me into something more than a hapless cook. And then there was Grut the Grumbler, whose gruff exterior masked a surprisingly generous spirit. One evening, over a makeshift meal cobbled together from leftover ingredients and an assortment of alien spices, we shared a rare moment of camaraderie. His booming laughter echoed through the kitchen, a sound so at odds with his scowling visage that I couldn't help but join in. "You're not half bad, Quibble," he rumbled, clapping me on the back with enough force to nearly send me sprawling. "Maybe there's hope for you yet." Those words, gruff as they were, struck a chord deep within me. The contest might be over, but the friendships forged, the lessons learned, and the chaotic spirit that had carried me through were just beginning to simmer. As the celestial spoon continued its voyage through the glittering expanse of stars, I found myself looking ahead with a newfound sense of purpose. The galaxy's grandest culinary tournament had tested me in ways I never anticipated, not just my cooking, but my courage, creativity, and capacity for connection. The road ahead was uncertain, as unpredictable as the swirling cosmos itself. But armed with frantic hope, exasperated delight, and a dash of hard-earned wisdom, I was ready to embrace whatever chaos awaited. Because in this vast, absurd universe, sometimes the greatest victories aren't trophies or titles, they're the messy, glorious moments that remind us why we keep reaching for the stars. And so, With the celestial spoon humming softly beneath me and the infinite galaxy sprawling ahead, I took a deep breath, wiped another smudge of sauce off my apron, and prepared for whatever madcap adventure came next. After all, in a universe that refuses to take anything seriously, neither should I. The final echoes of the celestial spoon's intergalactic cooking contest still hummed softly through the corridors, a lingering buzz of sizzling pans and whispered anecdotes. I stood on the observation deck, the vast tapestry of stars sprawled endlessly before me, each one a pinprick of possibility. My apron, a patchwork of scorch marks and mysterious stains, clung to me like a badge of honor, or maybe a warning to anyone who dared eat my cooking again. Either way, I smiled, truly smiled. It had all come down to this, a frenetic, chaotic journey that began with my utterly accidental entry into the galaxy's most prestigious culinary tournament and ended not with a trophy, but with something far more elusive: respect. Not just from the judges, whose expressions had swung wildly between bafflement and reluctant admiration during the final round, but from my fellow competitors. From the fierce and formidable Chef Rax Thorn, who had spent much of the contest trying to sabotage me, to Grut the Grumbler, whose gruff exterior hid an unexpected streak of loyalty. The grand dining hall was alive with a hum of conversation and laughter as we gathered for the closing ceremony. The room was a kaleidoscope of colors, alien uniforms of every shade, shimmering culinary tools on display, and the ever-present waft of exotic spices and burnt attempts at perfection. Mira Zin was there, her vibrant blue hair catching the light as she animatedly recounted the tale of how she'd almost lost that rare spice that almost saved my dish. Grut, surprisingly chipper, was trading barbs with Jix, who was busy attempting a clumsy celebratory dance that caused a few sparks to fly, eliciting gasps and chuckles. "You did it, Alex," Mira said, her smile bright and unwavering. "You survived the chaos. More than survived, you thrived in it." I shrugged, the familiar panic fluttering at the edges of my mind. Thrived might be pushing it. I mostly just didn't set the kitchen on fire this time. Barely, Grut grunted, but there was no malice in his voice. "For a disaster in the making, you pulled through." Then there was Vrax. Standing tall and imposing by the judging panel's side, their metallic apron gleamed under the soft lighting. Our eyes met, and for a moment, the tension between us was palpable. But instead of the usual cutting glare, I saw something else, a flicker of respect, grudging though it might be. "Quibble," Vrax said, voice low and sharp. "UV made a mockery of the contest, and yet, somehow, UV forced me to reconsider what it means to be a chef." I blinked. "I'll take that as a compliment." A rare, almost imperceptible smile tugged at the corner of their mouth. "Don't get used to it." The crowd around us erupted into applause, breaking the moment, and I realized this wasn't just an ending, it was a beginning. The contest hadn't been about winning a prize or achieving perfection. It was about embracing the unpredictable, the messy, the chaotic art of creation itself. Later, as the celestial spoon continued its voyage through the stars, I found myself back on the observation deck, Mira at my side and Jix attempting to reboot after its dance mishap. The ship's engines thrummed beneath us, a steady heartbeat amidst the vast silence of space. "So, what now?" Mira asked, eyes alight with curiosity and hope. I looked out at the swirling cosmos, the infinite possibilities stretching beyond every horizon. "Now," I said, "we cook. We experiment, we fail gloriously, we laugh, we keep embracing the chaos. Because if I've learned anything, it's that the secret ingredient isn't skill or tradition, it's the willingness to keep going, no matter how many times you burn the toast." Mira grinned, and even Jix gave a cheerful beep as if in agreement. As the stars streaked past the celestial spoon, I felt a surge of frantic hope mixed with exasperated delight. The universe was vast, unpredictable, and utterly ridiculous, just like my cooking, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The adventure wasn't over. It was just beginning.